Welcome back to the Matt Return Podcast. I'm your co-host, Zach Allen.
And I'm Kaleb Boyer.
And we're back after the NCAA tournament. The season's over already. It feels like it just started, but it was a great tournament. Kansas City was awesome. I love the venue. And more importantly, for our podcast, Penn State not only won again, but set multiple records in the process. So I guess just to start, Kaleb, what were your takeaways from last weekend?
Well, my first thought was Penn State outscoring Cornell, I believe, was in second place with 72.5 points. Outscored them by over 100, or not over 100, excuse me, exactly 100 with 172.5. If you were to split the team, you could take the first and second place team trophies if you're Penn State, which I thought was really crazy. The level of dominance is just unmatched. I mean, at this point, it's like no record's pretty much untouchable for Penn State. I wouldn't be surprised if they break the 10 All-Americans in a couple of years or next year,
Yeah, and I mean, even going into the tournament, that was close. I mean, Davis and the Gal both lost in the blood rounds. So they were just one win away there from becoming only the second team to ever do that. But like you said, I think that's the first thing, really everyone probably thinks of. 100 points, triple digits, is really just unheard of. And, I mean, it might eventually be broken. Records always end up getting broken. But, the win margin record had been standing for close to 40 years. And they blew it out of the water by, more than 25 points. And I just think it's going to be a while before we see any program kind of have a tournament with this level of dominance that Penn State had, including Penn State. I mean, maybe next year they have a lot of guys coming back, some leaving, some returning. So we'll see what happens next season. But I think another takeaway for me was Tyler Kasak. I think, winning a national championship obviously has a lot more glory to it, and he probably came into the tournament wanting to win that, but he finished third after losing his first round match, which is arguably harder than winning a national championship because you have to battle through being upset that you got upset so early by a guy seated lower than you. And then you have 7 matches to get third place. And, at the end there, he wrestled 2 of the top seeds at 149 pounds. He had never beaten Ridge Lovett before. He had lost twice that season.
Yep.
And then really that match wasn't even close. And then he defeated the NC State guy, Jackson Arrington, and ultimately just won. I think that was arguably, outside of Brooks and Strachey winning their 4th title, that was probably the most impressive feat, I think, of the entire weekend. But yeah, those are really just my takeaways. Do you think Penn State could potentially do something similar next season, or is this really just one of a kind?
I guess it really depends. I mean, I assume Carter's not coming back, but if Carter were to come back, I definitely think that's on the table. Because right now at 174, you're probably looking at Facundo starting there next year, I would assume. Because, like I said, I don't think Carter's coming back. But you have Greg, who I believe should come back, Bo, who should come back. And then Van Ness will be healthy, and they'll probably redshirt Kasak. So all of a sudden you have pretty much the same, I don't want to say the same lineup, but you just... they'll have to fill 197 in, but at 184 you're probably getting Josh Barr instead of Truax. So I still think it's going to be a really strong lineup. I'm not sure if they'll be able to beat their mark this year. I wouldn't expect it, though.
Yeah, I also wouldn't expect it. I think, going down the lineup, you also have Mitchell Messenbrink, who just fell short, and I think what was a miscommunication at the end there, kind of feel for him a little bit because he's a freshman. I'm sure going into that match, his adrenaline is rushing, and especially on the mat. After the score did say 8-8, and Card got the majority of his riding time in that first period. So maybe he just forgot a little bit, and didn't hear the coaching staff or something, or I don't even know if the coaching staff was yelling at him. I didn't really have a good view from my seat, but I think he's going to be next up. I mean, O'Toole's, I think, probably going to move up. Carr's done. There's really just, it's him. It's like his division, I think.
Does O'Toole have one more year?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, even with O'Toole, I think he'd have a good shot. I mean, he was right there with Carr, even with the stalling calls, the controversial stalling calls.
Three stalling points.
Yep.
That was a lot. But yeah, just overall, there really, I don't think, was much disappointment that Penn State fans could find. I mean, I guess Braden not placing might have been a little bit of a surprise, but that weight class was chaotic like all season, and even going into the tournament, there were 7 wrestlers that had been ranked number 1, and so being the top seed at 125 was not just I'm gonna walk to at least the quarterfinals or the semifinals. It was a battle every single match, and yeah, I mean the Gal, he was close, but they were close. Like it's not like Drew Hildebrandt from a couple years ago where he was top 5 and then kind of collapsed down the stretch there. And I don't think he earned a point that season, that postseason. But yeah, there's really wasn't anything to be unhappy about, especially with all the accolades. Now, postseason, we get to look forward to the Hodge Trophy. The finalists were announced today. We're recording this on Tuesday. Just got announced 4 Penn State wrestlers. Who, Kaleb, in your opinion, who do you think it should go to? And you can say Keckeisen if you believe it's going to be Keckeisen.
I think he's going to finish second. I think it's going to be Brooks, and I'm not sure it's going to be close. One of the categories they look at past accomplishments, and obviously Brooks has the 4 titles, and he beat Parker last year pretty handedly. I think that in most other years, Parker probably wins. But just given the context with Brooks, I think Brooks is going to probably receive a majority of the votes.
Yeah, and I mean, he had like 90% bonus point, the most pins of any of the finalists. Undefeated, obviously. I really don't think it's close either. I think going into the tournament, or the Big Ten tournament, it was Carter, I think, was going to win it, considering he had the 64 match win streak, or whatever the exact number was. It was around there. But unfortunately, the injury kind of, forced him to take 2 losses, and I don't know if he'll still get it. But yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a case to be made for like Levi or Greg, but really, I kind of really agree with you. Keckeisen as no one was on par with him at that weight class all season. He really just cruised to a national championship.
Yeah, I think he also had around like a 90% bonus percentage. He was like right below Brooks. I mean, like right below him. He had more tech falls and majors, but he didn't have as many pins.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like he had an extremely impressive year as well, but like I said, most other years he probably wins.
Yeah. So I think just in itself, though, you see 4 finalists from the same school is incredible. I mean, where does this team rank to you out of all the Penn State teams? There's a lot of teams to talk about, but like just to you.
I mean, it's got to be first, right? I mean, they broke 2 of the most prestigious team records, I guess if you want to call them that, team records. I mean, not only did they break the points record, they broke the margin of victory record too. So it's not even just the 3-point takedown, increasing the amount of bonus points you can get. Like, I don't even think that was as big of a factor. I know a lot of people were talking about that online this week,
But yeah, Penn State has some guys coming up next. I'm sure they'll be the favorites next year. But in the meantime, might be our last. This might be our last podcast covering, what happened during the season. The season's over. If there's breaking news, I'm sure we'll hop on here and break it down for all you guys. But for now, I'm Zach Allen.
and I'm Kaleb Boyer.
Peace.